looks like Rinehart is going to keep.
All right, well, see, does he have a Deathrite Shaman? That's going to be step one as they start the game.
Yeah, he's got a Wooded Foothills he'll sacrifice down to 19. Round number 11 underway here from DC. See what land he wants to search.
Yeah, well, he's not going for the basic forest, which is a great sign.
Yep. Gonna go get a Bayou.
Can freely search up Bayou in this matchup. There are no Wastelands in Reanimator.
There's a Wirewood Symbiote.
All right, well, not, he said this smirk on Charlie's face, not the one drop he was hoping for.
Yeah, not a Deathrite Shaman. You see, Moldowsky's going to very quickly sacrifice Polluted Delta to get Underground Sea.
And this matchup, it's Wirewood Symbiote is a card that Charlie really just doesn't have time for. You know, the things he wants early on was we already talked about Deathrite Shaman, but otherwise it's Nettle Sentinels, Heritage Druids. If he goes on a Deathrite Shaman game plan, having a Wirewood Symbiote in play is not bad because it lets him exile twice in a turn. But without the Deathrite, I don't see Symbiote doing much here.
There's a Ponder. Moldowsky going to shuffle with the Ponder, did not find what he was looking for. So mystery card coming here for Jake.
Yeah, and that's one of the other hopes for Jake is that Reanimator does not, sometimes just is missing a piece and can struggle to find it. And if that happens, Charlie will have time to just execute his normal game plan and maybe steal out a win here.
Wirewood will come across for 1, but also going to go down to 18. Windswept Teeth and a passing of the turn.
Yeah, and that pass speaks to some weakness in Charlie's hand to see. It looks like at least one more land and a Crater Hoof.
It's not the most explosive hand, that's for sure.
No, it's it doesn't do a lot right now. I mean, it's a piece away, right? If you get one Elvish Visionary, then the hand has a lot of game to it.
Careful study.
But as we know, these games are not going to last too many turns.
Oh, that's a good careful study.
Yeah, 2 monsters.
Yeah, it was Iona and Reanimate were the cards.
Wow.
So discarding Iona and Tidespout Tyrant, Reanimate Iona makes things really easy. Yep.
Yeah, Iona would come into play, named green. Charlie can't play green spells, and his mono green deck can't tolerate that one. So game 1 goes to Jake Moldowsky.
It does. Up a game over Charlie Rinehart. Reanimator very quickly up a game over Elves. Not much of a surprise there, especially when Rinehart does mulligan to 5. Though we will take a look at Charlie's sideboard to begin things. You have that in front of you. He's going to need some real help here.
All right, well, he has 3 Cabal Therapies in his sideboard. He's going to want anything that can interact here. So he has those. He'll board those in. 3 Therapies, 2 Thoughtseizes are all good. 2 copies of Surgical Extraction are quite nice in this matchup, along with 1 copy of Scavenging Ooze in the sideboard. So he has a fair amount of graveyard hate. So those I would all expect to come in. The last thing he could do is he has 1 copy of Progenitus in play, or sorry, rather in his sideboard. Sometimes you can see them natural order into Progenitus, but my guess is he will stay away from that plan simply because it's actually just not fast enough. It's very resilient, but I don't think Jake has to interact with it. So discard 5 spells, yes, 3 spells of Graveyard Hate. It's an 8-card board for Charlie, and that will help. Will it make it favorable enough for him to win 2 straight games? That remains to be seen.
For Jake Moldowsky, he's got 3 Abrupt Decays, 3 Duress, a Thoughtseize, an Aetherling, a Sire of Insanity, 2 Surgical Extractions, 2 Pithy Needles, a Massacre, and a Disfigure. He's got some ways to interact. Massacre and Disfigure are actually pretty good in this matchup. Abrupt Decay can be okay as well, but you don't want to overload too much with ways to kill Deathrite Shaman. That said, I am a little curious about this Aetherling and why that's hiding out over here. I suppose there's a good threat against Miracles. And then a Sire Insanity, not really for this particular matchup. Pithy Needle can be okay too, but again, the thing is you don't want to overboard for this matchup because you still want your deck to be pretty streamlined. So, you know, you could see a world where he does bring in 3 Abrupt Decays, 2 Needles, a Massacre, and Disfigure, but he might have to dilute his deck too much to bring all of that stuff in just to combat Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, well, there are some things. Tidespout Tyrant and Grave Titan are not particularly good finishers in this matchup, so he at least has 2 things he can board out. You're right, this matchup's very good for him. So he's not going to go to very many sideboard cards. Abrupt Decays and Disfigures, sure, those are fine as they can slow down Charlie, but the game plan is still the same on Jake's side.
Moldowsky has returned to the table, so he'll finish sideboarding, and while we wait for him to continue that, we will talk about SCG Game Night very quickly. Popular promotion, thanks to you guys playing in it. And we do have some cool stuff coming here in August, September, and October. It is Monkey Month here in August, so there is Furious George stealing some bananas. And as we go into September, we will have the Kraken.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
the
there we go.
Kraken?
There we go. Yeah, in September we have our 9/9 Kraken token. You know, to play with your Kioras.
Yeah, if you are able to go ultimate and get that emblem, this will be your token and your pin. And then, as we unveiled yesterday, it is finally here. Again, proof that if you do complain enough, companies will give in to your demands, or at least it worked for us. The hippo is here, finally, in the month of October, chilling in a raft by the pool with a bird on its head, bird drinking a cocktail. It's super adorable. And you'll be able to get it in October. I don't know what makes a 1/1 hippo token. That's what I'm going to have to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I love the art on this. No, a really exciting token. I like that it's purple.
I do too.
That's, you know.
Hippos generally, I think, should be purple. This is an adorable looking hippo. That bird doesn't really know what's in store for it, because though the hippo does look friendly, that bird's probably going to die. But that's just all part of the artwork.
What?
Really? Hippos kill all
he's
things.
probably going to die because that's way too much alcohol for such a small bird.
Either way, StarCityGames.com/game night for more information, as we will get ready for more Reanimator versus Elves. We do have a fun backup match for you guys as well, involving Dylan Donegan, which we feel as though we will be able to jump to, because this matchup is not a very long one. There's actually more shuffling and sideboarding that happens than actual turns played more often than not.
The pin is a tragic tale of alcohol awareness.
It is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
All right.
Here's
Okay,
Feldegriff.
so this is why
Hippo.
it's purple. All right.
Now that's the
Feldegriff's a
original
weird card.
That's the original Feldegriff. This does make this actually makes hippo tokens. Put a hippo token into play under target opponent's control. Oh, it's giving. It gives hippo tokens
because
away.
the felt. Oh, so you bring tokens for your opponent? I mean, I guess that's fine. I bring tokens when I play Swan Song.
That's really nice of you.
You know.
Treat this token as a 1 green creature. There's also Questing Feldegriff. That one, a little updated version. I don't believe this one. Yeah, this one doesn't make hippo tokens. I used to play this card.
No, it does. The first one.
No, you're right. You're right. Target opponent gets a 1/1. Just giving away
that is
hippos.
An expensive shade. Every time you bump it, you're giving your opponent a 1/1.
So all of its abilities are good, but it gives stuff away. So if you want to fly, you give your opponent a card. What's the big deal?
That is such a big price to fly.
This was a finisher in control decks during that time.
Yeah, I mean, Magic was a different game.
A little bit. This card I don't think would see the light of day today, which is kind of sad, because it was a sweet card.
Yeah, he doesn't compare well to Siege Rhino at that cost.
Yeah. Compare that card to Rock's War Monk or Rafik of the Many or many other cards. It's kind of sad, actually. I used to love Questing Feldegriff.
You have a 4/5 trample with a great ability at that cost, or you can have a 4/4 with a bunch of semi-drop.
That thing flies. First of all, hold on. That thing flies right over Siege Rhino.
But he draws them into another Siege Rhino.
Okay, we'll fly over the other one too.
That's not a game plan.
Well, it is a game plan.
Oh boy.
It might not be a winning game plan, but it is a game plan.
All right.
And then I can give it protection. I can give you 2 life. There's a lot that the Questing Feldegriff can do. Again, it's just very giving. But does it take more than it gives? That's the question.
It's political.
I think we should work on a new Feldegriff. Hopefully one comes in Battle of Zendikar. Though that area does not seem to be filled with hippos very much, but stranger things have happened. I'd like one more go to Feldegriff in Magic. Or the Pygmy Hippo. I was always a fan of that card.
It's an interesting mechanic, right? You get something small and you have to give your opponent something huge for it.
What's that?
For all his abilities. All those Feldegriff abilities are kind of, the whole, you get one thing, but you have to give your opponent something better to have it. Or something different.
Yeah, you have to give them something.
Yeah.
Like the protection one, you can pay a white to give a protection from a color, and then they get 2 life.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
That one I'm okay with.
Yeah. My creature's not dying. Gain 2. That doesn't matter. The other ones, they're a little bit tough.
The green one seems really brutal. Giving them a 1/1 to pump your guy +1/+1 seems I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that
It's
trade.
a little dangerous. Deathrite Shaman is how Rinehart's going to start things. He's got another copy of the card in his hand, too, so he is pretty well prepared here.
Yeah, especially when he's on the play. A turn 1 Deathrite Shaman can go a long ways in the matchup.
Here's a Ponder. We saw Moldowsky shuffle last time. Charlie, very, very showy, letting us get a good look at his hand.
It's not bad.
It's definitely a good hand.
Right now, Deathrite doesn't make mana. Neither player used a fetch land. Charlie also doesn't have one in his hand.
Looks like Jake is going to shuffle away with the Ponder, so mystery card on the way. Mystery card drawn is a Swamp.
And you see a lot of action in Jake's hand. If there wasn't a Deathrite Shaman in play, he does have Reanimate and Careful Study, both in his hand already. But he's gonna have to work his way through the 1-2.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman is a pretty difficult card for Reanimator to overcome. That's why you see a lot of them go to a card like Show and Tell. Be able to put the threat into play.
Yeah, interestingly, no show and tells in Jake's sideboard today. That is a daring play from Reanimator.
Sometimes you see Reanimator decks do like a kind of weird 2-2 split where they start 2 Show and Tells and they have 2 more on the board. But you're not going to find any in Jake's deck list this weekend. A decision that's certainly going to hurt this game. We'll see if it hurts him throughout the entire match.
Well, the draw of a Verdant Catacombs from Charlie, really helpful here. Let's see, will ramp him thanks to Deathrite Shaman. If he can afford to do that, I don't even know that he can.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to be in that much of a rush here. As long as Deathrite Shaman is sitting there being annoying, as here's another one, I don't think he has to do anything too crazy. So he'll just play another Deathrite Shaman and pass the turn back.
And huge draw from Jake, actually drew a copy of Pithing Needle.
That's very helpful. And this was the big question of how he wanted to sideboard in the matchup against Deathrite Shaman. Again, he has 3 copies of Abrupt Decay, 2 Needles, a Massacre, and a Disfigure in his board. So Needle is probably the best card against Deathrite Shaman because it can shut down multiple copies. And he's found one.
Yeah, and something you see that what Jake's going to do here is he's actually going to wait to play the Pithing Needle until the turn he wants to combo. And the reason for that is that Charlie, playing Green Sun Zenith, can find his 1-of copy of something like Reclamation Sage to blow it up. And Jake really can't afford that to happen. And so yeah, he's giving Charlie value in that Charlie gets to have extra mana off the Deathrite Shamans, but that's well worth the risk.
Glimpse of Nature here from Rinehart, so perhaps we're going to have a glimpse turn. He does have a Cradle in hand as well. Could be a pretty good turn here for Charlie. He'll start by playing a Clearing Ranger, so that'll draw 1 card. Moldowsky will take a look.
Clearing Ranger lets him return a forest to his hand to untap a creature. Right now, probably won't use that ability on a Deathrite Shaman because he's going to run out of lands in his graveyard. Gaia's Cradle tapping for 3 at the moment.
There's a Visionary, so 1 green mana left floating. This will allow Charlie to draw 2 cards, 1 from the Glimpse Trigger and then 1 from Elvish Visionary resolving.
Wow, and with Heritage Druid as the draw, we might be off to the races.
Yeah, this was pretty timely. I think his draws that turn, or off of that 2 triggers were Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinel. Actually, there's a Surgical Extraction in hand too, so that's pretty good.
And this is what I was talking about, where this reminds me of, you know, your, I guess, old school elf turns where you actually just combo and play out your whole deck.
2 green floating, another card coming. Wooded Foothills the draw.
And that may be the end of the line, but with the Surgical Extraction in hand and the 2 Deathrites untapped, one of them can exile the land to make a mana and the other can use it. It seems, then Charlie can untap and play Crater Hoof. He has Jake next turn.
Yep.
As we go to Jake, we'll see whether that matters.
Needle and a Careful Study. Needle naming Deathrite Shaman. Here's Careful Study. Moldowsky going to draw 2 cards.
Does he have the Force of Will or something similar to take care of that Surgical Extraction?
That's exactly what it's going to take. Because here's Reanimate, that's going to target Iona. Here's Surgical Extraction. Does he have Force of Will plus blue card? The answer is no. He does not.
There you have it, Charlie, that needing all the resources he can get, but it may be enough.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I was wondering if Charlie was going to actually resolve Surgical correctly. He was shortcutting a little bit there by just saying, okay, take care of your Iona, move on. Your Elishorn and move on. But he gets to see the hand. He gets to see the deck.
Yes, I think he wants to do all that. I mean, he's going to get to untap and win here. I think he knows that. Just untaps, taps Cradle, plays Craterhoof, and has more than enough damage.
Get that info.
Yeah.
See how he sideboarded. For example, he just sees an Abrupt Decay. There, now he knows there's a Massacre. That's a good one to know. Yeah, I'd be smiling a little bit too. I want to know all this stuff for game number 3.
Disfigure, another Abrupt Decay, third Abrupt Decay.
Because this lets you know now that just a hand with Deathrite Shaman isn't lights out.
Yeah, Tidespot Tyrant and Grave Titan still in the deck.
I'm surprised those are still in there.
Yeah, me as well. Mainly because if you think about Grave Titan, say it doesn't even do anything on this board.
Yeah. It is not going to get the job done against an elf deck that can do a lot of blocking on the ground and then overwhelm you. Rinehart's going to untap. We know he's got that Crater of Behemoth in hand, and he's got a lot of mana, given the guy his Cradle. Elvish Visionary the draw. Yeah, I'm fairly sure this is Xaxes as far as mana is concerned, but damage is more than enough.
Yeah, this should be pretty straightforward. Craterhoof is costing 8. The Cradle.
Yeah, he doesn't even need a land.
Doesn't need a land.
So. Charlie Rinehart's going to win game number 2 here against Jake Moldowsky. Elves, Reanimator, getting ready for game number 3. Timely Surgical Extraction there for Rinehart.
And one thing we noticed while Charlie was going through his side, Jake's deck there, is it doesn't look like Jake had kept in the Force of Wills in the matchup.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we'll see Jake bring them back in now that he knows Charlie's on Surgical Extraction. He might need some game there.
I was a little surprised, especially again when he has Tidespot Tyrant and Grave Titan in the deck. I don't like those. I would want some number of Force of Wills. I'm not sure if I want all 4, but I believe the Force of Will is better than those 2 reanimation threats. And one of the things that Jake is able to do now since he's on the play is he can reanimate a turn 1 monster because he has Lotus Petal in his deck.
Right.
So we can see turn 1 Entomb reanimate if a perfect hand does come together.
And I think both players have known when Jake has those kind of hands on the play, he just gets to win in this matchup, Charlie, with very little interaction. I mean, he still has 2 Surgical Extractions, so those can interact with turn 1 combos, but that's it.
There is a slight fear of that, but as you mentioned, that's really it. And really, if you think about it, Jake has 2 turns to go off. He has his first turn and his second turn, because if the draw is Deathrite Shaman, well, Charlie's on the draw. So he gets to play Deathrite Shaman his turn 1, and then Jake can go off on turn 2 as well. But again, he just has to really be concerned, I think, with this particular game. Like, I would board out some amount of my Abrupt Decays and stuff like that, and really just focus my deck on comboing on turn 1 or turn 2.
Right.
And that's it.
I would agree. Yeah, on the draw, Abrupt Decay seems necessary because a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman can do a number on you. It forces you to combo turn 1, which is unlikely that you have it. But on the play, yeah, maybe board some of those out.
He's going through his deck a little bit here, so we'll see how he opts to sideboard. And we'll see game number 3 in just a moment. But in the meantime, we will talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news. It has been revamped and changed, so we've made it a lot more geared towards the Open Series, so you can get the latest on the SCG Open Series, watch the SCG Open Series Match of the Week, receive exclusive deck list and advice this month from Shaheen Sarani, who is making a deep run in this tournament here in Washington, D.C. Catch him at all the event results and read an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Most importantly, it is 100% free to sign up for. StarCityGames.com/newsletter for more information. Because who are we kidding? If it wasn't free, no one would do it.
I don't know.
But since it's free...
But since it's free, you should.
Yeah, you have no excuse not to do it. You're going to be on the internet anyway. Probably reading some horrible BuzzFeed article So why don't you just read some Magic news instead?
Is there text in BuzzFeed articles? I thought you just kind of look at them.
It depends on what your definition of text is. There are words sometimes. They're all generally irrelevant, but there are words sometimes. It sounds like BuzzFeed's not going to sponsor the Open Series, just so that you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one fell through?
That's off the table now. That's off the table.
I really, I think the market for Magic the Gathering BuzzFeed articles really hasn't happened yet. 15 rares you completely forgot were sweet.
Dude, you just found your niche.
Just crank them out.
Yeah. 15 Inquest combos you forgot existed.
Just
we could really go deep.
Start
on
be
this.
like Icy Manipulator, Winter Orb, bam.
That's
forgot about it.
Yep.
This thing was sweet back in the 90s. And just go on to the next one. Don't even talk about
Sleeper Agent donate. Or sorry, no. Sleeper Agent donates itself. Sorry. Sleeper Agent Light of Day was the combo. Sleeper Agent Light of Day was the combo in Inquest that I really got attached to.
That was good. I thought Light of Day Darkest Hour. That one's
good too. No, that one plays. Yeah. But yeah, Light of Day, black creatures cannot attack or block.
All right.
Then you play the Sleeper Agent, you give it to them, they die to it.
Oh, wow.
Duh. Basically an unbeatable Inquest combo. I know some people right now are watching and they're saying, what's Inquest? Google it.
I think I still have one somewhere.
I don't have those anymore. I have the old sideboard tournament magazines in my home still.
I remember the last Inquest I read, they used to publish just, they'd have top decks from a tournament that was played at a store somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one I read, it was what the winning decks, I remember it started was like 4 Soul Ring, 4 Tolarian Academy, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Well, that's probably a winning deck. They're
not
wrong.
I don't know what kind of tournament this was, but this deck seems sweet.
Yeah, they're not wrong. That's a winning deck. Not a particularly legal deck, but it's a winning deck.
4 Memory Jar, 4, just like, yeah, let's do this.
Really good deck.
So I wonder how, this deck probably just wins. You dry hand and be like, yep, another winner.
I want to play vintage, nothing banned or restricted, one tournament, see what the best deck is.
That sounds horrible. Have you played Chandelar ever?
Many moons
Yeah,
ago.
I mean, that's another one where there's no ban or restricted list. You can just build a deck that wins on turn 1 every single game.
I'm interested.
Though actually, if you play about 80 spells in a turn, the game crashes.
Oh. So just like Magic Online. Here's a careful study.
All right. Charlie has his fingers crossed. Oh boy.
Well, if there's Iona.
No, the danger, okay, so there's an Iona, and Jake's discarding. Okay, so he's discarding Entomb, because he doesn't, oh boy.
Well, he thinks that Iona is good enough, and you have to imagine that Jake has a reanimation spell. So now the big question is, all right, Charlie, do you have surgical extraction or not? You're on a 2-outer. If you do, good beats. If you don't, you lose.
I mean, it's not the complete nuts. The complete nuts for Jake would be a turn 1 Thoughtseize, followed by a turn 2 Iona.
Well, yes, I agree with you on that. I have no argument there. There's Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, and I think Charlie, even if he has no surgical, will have to keep a turn 1 Deathrite, and just kind of cross his fingers here.
Of course. I don't think that he can realistically mulligan for, it's only a disfigure. I don't think he can realistically mulligan for just surgical.
And I think Moldowsky has the Exhume, but doesn't have the second land.
Yep, he just disfigured the Deathrite Shaman and passed the turn back, so let's see what this is. The tough thing here for Jake is, he's not mulliganing his hand in a billion years. He's always keeping this hand, and he's just to hope that he draws a land. And hope that Charlie doesn't have a surgical extraction. That's really it.
All right, so the Deathrite was his interaction, and now Charlie's hoping to have a fast kill, and he needs Jake to break two more turns, I think.
Yep. Land, it's over. That's a ponder.
It's not it yet. He's still alive. God, if I'm Charlie, I expect I am dead on the next turn because of ponder. Reanimate is among Jake's cards. That'll work. And the land.
And a Lotus Petal.
And a Lotus Petal. Those are all excellent cards.
Oh yeah, he's got it now because he can ponder, or he's casting Thoughtseize. Okay.
Seems great.
Yep. Take a look at the grip. Visionary, a couple of lands.
Now, I actually want to comment in Jake's spot. I'm not sure this is the time to Thoughtseize. I'm not particularly worried that, unless he's worried he'd be dead next turn, which seems unlikely. Otherwise, you could wait and Thoughtseize on the following turn.
Well, he could be dead this turn, so I'm actually okay.
Yeah, I guess it's close. Got 4 cards here. But like I said before with Charlie, I would assume this is my last turn if I'm Charlie.
Yeah. I would feel the exact same.
Yeah.
Charlie has nothing explosive to do. There's no natural order there. There's no glimpse.
Yeah, he has a hand that can create some value, but we are past that point.
Congratulations, and thank you all for coming out. That being said,
Deathrite Shaman was the draw.
welcome to round 2. We've got 50 minutes. Maybe
So it's Wirewood Symbiote. That untaps another Sentinel. He'll play Deathrite Shaman. Has 3 mana available from the Guy's Cradle, but he'll pass.
There's Entomb. That's
Yeah,
good enough.
Iona's not good. Why settle for Iona
When you
when
can
you
get
could have
Elishnorn?
Elishnorn?
Kill all your things. You're on a no-outer. I played Reanimator at GP Washington D.C. Oddly enough, we're here 2 years ago, the one that Owen Turdenwald won, and I got to play against Elves a couple times on day 2. It's a pretty good feeling. It's really hard to
The
lose.
first SCG Legacy Open I ever played, I played Elves, and my first game was I played Landwar Elves, then my opponent made an Elishnorn, then it happened again the second game. It's like, whoa, okay.
It's fun.
Yeah, I was really new to Legacy at the time. I was like this. I kind of felt like I was like, someone, can I play Landwar Elves in Legacy? It feels like I should be playing blue cards.
Charlie's going to do some things that don't matter
Yeah, well, everything's dead.
because everything is dead forever.
Yeah. The Guy's Cradle, including the Guy's Cradle in play and the one in his hand.
Yeah, those are basically dead too.
He's gonna float a lot of mana.
He's gonna draw a card.
Yeah,
Natural order.
that's
good.
exactly the card he wants.
Yep. That was last turn he wanted that one.
Yeah, the problem is he will never have a creature to sacrifice.
Yeah.
I don't believe he has an out.
This is called a no-outer.
Yeah.
He could draw his deck.
I mean, his out is hard casting Craterhoof Behemoth
Nice.
off lands that aren't Guy's Cradle.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not.
Nice.
He, in theory, has enough. Does he even have enough lands in his deck to actually do that? No, he can't. He only has 6 lands that make mana that are not called Guy's Cradle. So no, that's a literal no outer.
Rinehart going to admirably play it on. Here's a reanimate. It just got harder.
Well, yeah, just in case having all your creatures be permanently dead, now you've lost your ability to cast spells. And
That is going to
that'll
do it. Jake Modolsky is going to win this match over Charlie Rinehart. 2-1. Reanimator is going to take care of Elves, as it should, as it's a very favorable matchup for Reanimator. And Modolsky is going to move on to 9-2. One thing about Magic, especially tournament Magic, you have to win the matches you're supposed to win. This is a matchup that Modolsky is supposed to win, so it's important that he did for his tournament.
And heads up play by Charlie. I like his keep game 3. You can't just mulligan to Surgical, so turn 1 Deathrite will have to do. In this case, it wasn't enough.
Yeah. That's what life is like on the draw against Reanimator, really, if we're being honest. It's very, very hard for Elves to get the job done. And Reanimator has 2 I win cards, and oddly enough,